back with our guest, Briana Prince. And this is the Real Men of Real Estate, hosted by me, Thomas F. Chappell Jr. Why am I talking like this? I have no clue. Sound like a robot right about now. But we left off was talking about a lot of different things and whatnot. And I want to kind of like go back again to the insurance side. And the reason why I want to go back because when you're doing investing, a lot of people don't understand, how insurance will help them not only physically but financially. And so a lot of us don't really have our own insurance policies and whatnot. And just being able to touch on that just a little bit since you are going into the real estate game, then, help us to help you in that aspect.
So life insurance, as I was mentioning earlier, there's so many different uses to it. So the most common use is for the death benefit. If I pass away, I want to make sure my family is taken care of, my kids or spouse or whatever. But it's also more than that too. So so there's people who use it as a tax shelter because with life insurance it is tax free. So as long as with your life insurance policy, it doesn't become a MEC, a modified endowment contract, then it'll be tax free. Because now with what you're talking about with investing though, there are a couple different types of products that are out there, and they're called permanent life insurance policies. And that's what you would use for the investment purposes. But, essentially what you would want to do, because everybody's situation is different, and it's a bigger subject than in this little time that we have here. But what I can say is it's all about the structuring of what it is that you're looking to do. How are you going to be using your policy? So that has to be determined, and there's tons of questions that would be asked before determining that information on which policy makes the most sense for you.
Okay, so here's one of the major questions, especially for someone like yourself that's just getting into real estate and not truly understanding that all the different facets of real estate because they really don't know where they want to go. Yeah. They want to do everything and learn as much as they can, but coming in like with you, how can you help somebody else that's in the same position that you're in?
You sound like me right now, Thomas. Because, that's literally where I was. And still, I have it a little bit better sorted out now. And I ask people that same question all the time, like, where do I start? Because no one can ever give me an answer. Or if they do give me an answer, one person's saying to go this route, another person's saying to go this route. I feel like the biggest thing that I had to kind of look within myself is determine what it is, why am I getting in real estate in the first place? What are my goals? Is it to build capital? Is it for passive income? Figuring that out. And I'm more interested in the passive income. Okay, so now that I know that, what is my step? How am I going to go about doing that? So what are the avenues that get me there? Well, I can invest in notes. I can do short-term rentals or long-term rentals or, stuff like that. And so learning just the basics of that kind of gave me a little bit of an idea. I'm okay. Then I heard about the whole idea of seller financing. I'm like, well, that's actually quite fantastic. And then with mobile homes, someone was telling me a story about how they had bought a mobile home for $5,000. The mobile home was worth, I think, like about 50, 60,000, somewhere around there. And instead of, they took a down payment, so they immediately got their money back. And then I think they got all their money back, actually, yes. And then they did the seller financing, provided a note, so that way the person who's buying the property actually is paying them instead of the bank. And I was like, wow, that's actually fantastic. I didn't know you could do that.
Okay, so let me ask you this one. What happens if you come across somebody like yourself that has some money that they want to invest? How would you talk to them about that, and what would you tell them to invest in?
I guess it depends on how much money they have. So I would probably say...
Let's say I came to you and said I got $25K, I want to invest.
We are finding a property today. Because, to not take advantage of that, absolutely. There's so many different, there's a lot of properties that are out there. People talk about there's opportunity everywhere. You just got to go find it.
Well, the biggest thing is that a lot of people don't know that you can, instead of looking for properties, you can turn around and invest it into something like, a lot of people don't know, what could they invest it into. So like coming to a real estate investment club such as mine, the Black Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, somebody might need funding for their purchase of the property, or to to finish the rehab or something like that. So let's say if somebody had the money to purchase but didn't have the money for rehab, we call that, gap funding or bridge loans or things like that, to where now you control the deal because it's your deal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you tell them what your terms are, and they have to accept your terms or they go somewhere else. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that I have money, I want to invest. I would not take all of your money. I would take some of it and invest it so you get a better understanding and feel for it, because it's not my deal. You're going to control everything.
Right.
And you can do it for 6 months, a year, and so forth and so on. So let's say, for instance, you take $10,000. And I got a project right now, Hemet, that I can take your 10 grand and put it into it, and you can put it in for 6 months, a year, and so forth and so on. But it's not 10 grand off the money, it's 10 grand off the month. So it'll be 10 grand times 6 months, that's $600. 10 grand times a year, that's $1,200. So you add that to, the months, you add that to the 10 grand that you have. So now you look back, you say, okay, I left it in for a year. Now I got $11,200.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I like to get to know. What do you think about that?
The greatest advice that you gave me was build your buyer's list.
Okay.
Ask people what their buy box is. And I think that makes a huge difference, because and so because of you, I actually created these little cards. And on the top of it says, what is your buy box? And then it's a list of questions and stuff. So that way I can keep track of what people are looking for as far as properties, because that is a good point that you bring up. You may have the money, but not know, you may have one thing and not the other. And so, you kind of have to bridge the two to see how you can make something work. And I think that there's a lot of people, especially who do have money and want their money working for them. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. So, a lot of times I think even with me, I have definitely said, well, I don't have the money. You know what I mean? But it's like, you don't have to necessarily have the money. You just got to go find someone who does. And there's plenty of people who do have the money. They just don't know what to do with it. So if you come to them with a proposal, you're going to more than likely be able to get a deal.
Oh, I guess I got some smarts then, huh?
Yeah, you know what, Thomas? Absolutely. I do listen. I'm telling you, I do listen.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you heard it today. I know something. But no, in all seriousness, let me ask you this. If you had the opportunity to go back to your younger self,
oh, gosh.
what would you have told your younger self?
Number one, I probably would say, go get financial education, man. Because that's the most important thing, is getting educated. Because even, like I mentioned with my mistakes, I had money in the past, but then I didn't really understand what to do with that money. So I just bought into a bunch of courses. And but the good thing is I learned from those mistakes too, because I learned that I don't learn from watching videos. That's not going to help me. Like I'm a hands-on type of person. So I would tell myself, get some financial education, read Robert Kiyosaki's, all his books, and then start investing.
Okay. So you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't understand when he said that his dad was educated poor.
Yes.
Do you understand what that means?
I do. So his dad had a PhD. He was a teacher, and he actually made really good money, but he calls him his poor dad because of his mindset. So he more so, and this is my interpretation, I guess, is more so along the lines of his educated but poor dad was his educated dad that followed the whole idea of go to school, get a good job, go to school, get a good education, get a good job, so that way you can be safe and secure. Whereas his rich dad had totally different approach. You know, his concept was he believed in education, not so much the school system education, but take that education and, you know, do something, you know, invest and build your own business, that sort of thing. So, and I think learning the difference between the two has actually helped me a lot. I'm telling you, over the past 4 months of reading Cash Flow Quadrant and what the rich teach their kids have really had me thinking a lot. And it has changed my perspective a lot on all different types of things, especially financial literacy too.
I'm going to give you another book.
Sure, I'll take it.
The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, I've read that book too. That's a great book. Yep. Okay.
The thing of it is, when I expound on what Robert Kiyosaki said about his dad being poor or educated poor, is the fact that he capped out. He reached the top of the ceiling. The PhD is the highest degree you can receive. You can't go to school and get another degree. So that's it.
Right.
So, in other words, what the system is teaching you, how to be controlled by one income. Where
they're teaching you to be employees, for sure.
Exactly. So now understanding how you have multiple income streams, people don't get that, you know, and it doesn't mean going to have a basket weaving business. You know, we talking about corporations instead of just a chicken shack, a fried fish shack, or a lawn service or anything. There's nothing wrong with that, but you limited the things that you can achieve by just doing these average things instead of saying, let's build a corporation. You know what I'm saying? So one of the biggest things is that that's what you have to look at, is how to be able to advance in what you are doing and make it larger than life, to where you're going to leave a blueprint that somebody can come behind and finish if you don't get a chance to finish it.
Yeah.
You see? Okay. So we're going to take one more commercial break, and then we'll come back and wrap everything up with our guest, Briana Prince. Thank you for listening to The Real Men of Wealth.